Om Namah Shivaya, Asenest Fire, the way of Dharma. Today we'll be discussing a very sensitive subject, which is the one of unwanted population. Of course, we'll be going back into the Bhagavad Gita and sharing our thoughts on this sad aspect of life. So unfortunate of it, but hey, we need to discuss it because it's part of cosmic law, part of Dharma. Before we continue, please like, share, and subscribe. Welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. This is Asenest Fire, the way of Dharma. We'll be doing talks on spirituality. You'll be hearing mantras from the channel, African spirituality topics, and Western magic practice and topics. So, to those of you who are new, welcome. Old subscribers, returning subscribers, welcome. Please like, don't forget to share and subscribe. So today we'll be reading from the Bhagavad Gita. What are we describing? We are describing the subject of unwanted population. So now let's continue. So what is unwanted population? Surely you've heard of it when you are a reader of the Bhagavad Gita. What is unwanted population? Today, in this world, we are living in a gender war, basically. We are having a gender civil war. The war between the male and the female, the man and the woman, the family tradition. So what exactly is the cause of this war? I believe there's far intelligent beings that are living amongst us, far intelligent beings that are conspiring against us. So in order for them to hinder us from achieving and reaching our true potential as human sattvic beings, they have to create obstacles that are unnecessary to hinder our progress and development and psychic unfoldment. Let me pause this. I don't think it will work. Something that will hinder and delay our psychic and spiritual unfoldment. So they cause these such unnecessary things. So there's a group online called the MGTOW movement, men going their own way. And there's a group in the whole world, the feminist agenda, which is the feminist group, the female rights movement. So they are fighting for freedom, fighting against the male to have equality in everything they do. My opinion, though it's not important, here's my opinion. Though it's not important, my opinion is this. I don't know why female or women of other races are fighting their male counterparts, because the root of this feminist thing, feminist ideology, comes from the Western concept whereby the European male used to oppress the female. And even in America, the rights to vote were first given to the African men before the voting rights were given to the European female. So there was an agenda brewing from the European female asking to be equal with the European male. If you go back into antiquity, ancient times, you get to see that most natural, native, indigenous people groups used to have a matriarchal society. Not matriarchy in terms of a woman rulership, but the acknowledgement of the presence of the woman was there. And to a certain degree, she was exalted and given freedom, basically. In terms of equality and sharing things equally 50-50. It's highly unlikely and highly impossible because we are built differently and we can't fulfill the same purpose. If I'm good at martial arts, I can't expect a woman to be good at martial arts. We are not built the same. She should be good at something feminine, basically. If I'm good at arts, she should be good at something feminine, basically. So we can't compete, therefore we can't be equal. We are two different makes and two different beings, basically. That's just my opinion on it. So now the European female is influencing other races of female to actually join into this war of attacking the male. As a result, the Chitauris, the reptilians, has actually used this as a catalyst for their agenda to emasculate and destroy the masculine energy. For what? For further control and further enslavement, basically. So this is what they are doing. Their attack is so elaborate to a point whereby I don't know how they figured it out, but they figured by destroying the family structure, they could hinder the humanity's growth and progress. You have to know these things. You shouldn't go and read and listen to news and read newspapers, because that's not the type of information that is true, basically. So these things, these that are happening all over the world, they are actually the truth, basically. The hidden ones, the conspiracy theories, and these things that I'm discussing, basically. Not because they are true, because they are coming from me, but because of they are true. Yes, that's how it is. So it's so elaborate and so sophisticated and so well engineered to a point whereby it destroys the family structure. Destroying the family structure gives way to many civil unrests and unwanted behaviors in the population. So in the timeless knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, they know that when you destroy the family tradition, you have a population born out of the family tradition. A civil, restless, not civil, a restless, uncivilized, barbaric population comes from this, basically. So, not to offend anyone of African descent, there's a guy, a Zulu king, Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu's story, Shaka Zulu came from a single mother household. He was raised by a single mother, basically. So, in actuality, he was a bastard child. You can even read of this in Credo Mutwa's books. So he then had a certain anger that he was a bastard child, and also he had a certain anger because he was bullied as a child. Okay, so he grew up to be somebody furious and powerful, basically, and basically a warmonger, basically. So this is just an example to show you that the family tradition is important, basically. So in terms of polygamy and other things, it's another concept for another society building technique of the African people. So now we go back into the family tradition. So that's the example that I would give you. Children born out of an untraditional family, single parent household, have a larger fail rate, basically, and they turn out to be things that are not pleasant to say, for lack of better words and better descriptions. The thing that amazes me so much is the timelessness of this Bhagavad Gita. In Karma Yoga, page 57, in the purport, let me see. It is said, Varna Sankara Varna Sankara is unwanted population which disturbs the peace of the general society. In order to check this social disturbance, there are prescribed rules and regulations by which the population can automatically become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. You understand? So, the family structure, the family tradition, was a system organized and structured for a good, peaceful, civil, evolved, spiritually evolved population. So by destroying such a tradition, you are destroying the backbone of society. We are the backbone of the earth. You understand? So those that are against the family tradition know of this, and therefore they are doing this to destroy the population. So in terms of unwanted population, if you can check in many heinous crimes that are committed by humanity, try to track down the villain to their roots, try to discover their background, and you find that most of them are unwanted population, are children born out of single parent households. Why do I say so? The statistics say so. Even practicality, where I live, there's a very high number of single parent households. I'm one of them, but how am I growing up under a single parent household? My father passed away at a young age, but I don't know if it qualifies to you as unwanted population. But at a certain point in my life, I had two parents living in one household. I do have an idea of a marriage, and I do have an idea of seeing a certain union of my father and my mother together. You understand? So I don't know if I'm unwanted population. Am I unwanted population? Anyway, it's not about me, which is another thing that most people focus on. They focus on me, how I look, and am I capable of spreading out this message. This is not about me. Okay, I didn't choose this to actually do it, because people are hard-headed, and I could think of more better ways to be a YouTuber basically. So by a certain influence, I'm forced to talk about spirituality to you guys. So please don't attack me. You understand? It's not about me. So it says that when Lord Krishna descends, naturally he deals with such rules and regulations in order to maintain the prestige and necessity of such important performances. The Lord is said to be the father of all living entities, and if the living entities are misguided, indirectly the responsibility goes to the Lord. Therefore, whenever there is a general disregard of such regulative principles, the Lord himself descends and corrects the society. We should, however, note carefully that although we follow in the footsteps of the Lord, we still have to remember that we cannot imitate him, basically. So now it's going into the part of imitation of the Lord. Anyway, let's talk about it. Another idea that I want to give you guys: when approaching the Bhagavad Gita, do not read it as somebody who would be reading a Bible. Of course, there's levels of understanding according to a level of consciousness of somebody. You understand? If you want to take a criminal, introduce them to Bhagavad Gita, you have to introduce them to the abstract God external, without. You understand? So giving them an external God would give them something to be guilty about, something to fear, so that they can be civilized to a certain degree and channel their energy into knowing the true knowledge of self, which is what all this is talking about: the Krishna consciousness, which is a consciousness inside of us. We have Krishna inside of us. There is no Krishna that you will see outside in a statue. The statue is something to kind of rationalize Krishna and the attributes of Krishna to a human mind. Because if I can give you Krishna in the way it is, and I say maybe Krishna is the formless, boundless nature, You will see you will see it as something that cannot be approached, something that you can't relate to. Therefore, you won't be able to tap into that energy by thinking that it's a consciousness. Take this for example. I have an avocado tree. I talk to it. I ask it for prosperity. Some people won't approach a tree because they wouldn't see it as something that has two eyes, one mouth, and two ears and a nose, basically. So they can think that it's not capable of doing what, of giving blessing and giving answers, basically. Whereas I have had answers from the tree directly through the mind by way of conversation. It does answer. It is a true living being. It has consciousness. So back to the subject of Krishna. They have to give you Krishna in a form of a statue, an idol, something you can rationalize, something you can relate to, something you can approach. But in actual true reality, Krishna is inside of you. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita it talks of Krishna consciousness. You understand? You have to achieve Krishna consciousness. If Krishna was a separate being from you who is not inside of you, why would they say that you have to obtain Krishna consciousness? If something is not yours, you can't obtain it. You understand? If you want to obtain this onesie, you can't obtain it because it's mine. You have to obtain another color. But I doubt if you can obtain this same color. If there's maximum production, which is something else, there's no maximum production of Krishna. There's only one true Krishna, the inner self of you. And you have to achieve that Krishna consciousness by doing the works of Krishna. What are the works of Krishna? The works that have no results to it, which are what? The spiritual works. When you go into the sadhana room, the mandir, doing all those rituals, you are tapping into the unknown. You cannot see the results. You can't even tell what the results will be based on their manifestation. Basically, you do know what you want, you get what you want, but you don't know how the manifestation would happen. So also doing those works and the works of ascension. Okay, even ritual magic is something that has results attached to it. But when you do such things as yoga, pranayama, doing something which doesn't give you a visible result and a visible outcome, is doing the works of Krishna, because it doesn't bind you to looking for results and it doesn't bind you to a certain karma. So yes, I hope I have made it very clear in this chaptara. So yes, it is the responsibility of the Lord. Therefore, whenever there is a general disregard of such regulative rules, we should, however, note carefully that although we have to follow in the footsteps of Lord, we still have to remember that we cannot imitate him. Following and imitating him are not on the same level. Okay, we cannot imitate the Lord by lifting Govardhana hill as the Lord did in his childhood. It is impossible for any human being basically to do that. We have to follow his instructions, but we may not imitate him at any time. Srimad Bhagavatam affirms this as follows: one should simply follow the instructions of the controllers and should not imitate them in their activities. Their instructions are all good for us, and any intelligent person must perform them as instructed. However, one should guard against trying to imitate their actions. One should not try to drink the ocean of poison imitating Mahadeva, Lord Shiva. Yes, there's another part which talks about the family tradition, basically, because that's the real purpose of this book, basically. It says that they destroy the family tradition, and therefore they destroy the peace of society. Guys, going back into the subject of unwanted population and feminist agenda, I have met some people who grew up in a toxic environment, a toxic single parent household, and I've had certain results with it. I remember making a video talking about why good girls are in love with bad guys. Basically, my interpretation at that time was that bad guys had a certain uh, form of self-awareness and importance of self that gave them a leadership aura, a leadership powers over other people. Basically, it is part of it, but the major part of it is this: people that get born under such circumstances, you have what we call a trauma bond to whatever toxic single parent that you would have. Basically, take this for example. Over here in my neighborhood, you hear children, not children, man, you hear adults calling their children and using curse words on them, and the children grow up getting used to it. And even when they get beaten up, and curses are thrown at them, so they get acquainted to that way of life and way of treatment. Whereas with me, I've never had my mother saying a curse word to me. Basically, uh yes, okay, let me try and remember correctly. I don't know how to interpret curse words. Okay, yes, curse words would be things like vulgar language. Yes, I've never had my mother say it to me, but of course I've had her saying some other things. You understand, but not vulgar things. So I'm not used to someone saying vulgar things to me, like "Hey you, fuck you." You understand? I'm not used to that. So I'm not acquainted to that. So having someone in a relationship from a background that I'm coming from, and having them to say such words to me it offends me, and to me I can't deal with it. But to certain people who have grown up under certain uh, households and are acquainted to a certain life, to that particular life, they can relate very well. You understand? You find the other person treating the other person badly, and then the other person responding with love, basically being attached to that person, being obsessed to that person. Basically, it's because of those things. For a child, when it grows, when it comes into life, and then you say such words to it, and you are the only person giving it love, it has a traumatic bond to you, it has a trauma bond to you. And the only language of love that they understand is what you give to them, what you teach them. So they have a trauma bond to people with characteristics such as of yours, basically. You understand? So if you are such a parent in such a household, raising a kid in such a household, the kid is only accustomed to that. So when they meet somebody who might be showing genuine love, yes, it might be somebody, not me, because sometimes even me, I want to yam the female and leave. You understand? So yes, somebody who might be showing love to that child, it's something which is foreign. You understand? So they won't take it very well. It's a shock to their psyche, and they won't recognize it as true love. Therefore, they stray away from you. Guys, this is the importance of the family tradition and having a healthy household, because such unwanted population, they involve all of us. Let me show you an example of unwanted population disturbing the peace of the general society. Okay, in our neighborhood, many children are growing up under single parent households. So most of the time they are in the streets, playing in the streets. Why? Because in their household it's not applicable to be chilling over there. You understand? It's not a wholesome family. First of all, the households over here, you have people living in some you have some people living in small houses, you understand. So it's not conducive for an entire family to be growing under there. So the children have to go and constantly play outside because there's no space in the house, you understand. But if it were that the children were growing up in a family tradition or two-parent household, they wouldn't even be here because their parents would have found a house for them, basically. So by finding a house for them, they have a family in another neighborhood, and then it makes sure that they are less over here in this side, you understand. So by being less in this side, there's less generation, less children over here. So they go there, they grow up under rules, under guidance, and under mentorship and great rulership. Of course, there's those Zahara Lily spirits in even two-parent households. There's those people basically who are unwanted population. But most of the time, the unwanted population comes from single-parent households. And if we say that it can happen that in a two-parent household there would be such, we would be trying to liken the two situations, whereby the actual single parent household has a higher failure rate for growing children than that of a two parent household. So comparing the two things would be folly basically. So having them move out and raising their family elsewhere, the child would be mentored and grown under better conditions. But now, because now it's a single parent household, the children, they come over here at my house basically. They do certain things to our wall, they draw the wall, you understand. Sometimes they might break the tiles on the wall. You know, sometimes they might stand in front of the yard, and I can't study, I can't read whatever Bhagavad Gita that I'm trying to read, and there's noise all over the neighborhood, you understand. So also again, on a larger scale, on the adolescent stage, the children cannot sit at home even when it's raining, even when it's cold. They have to go outside constantly exploring, and exploring with even detrimental, risky behavior to them, basically. So they try to find hubbly bubbly auger pipes, they start to smoke weed, they start experimenting with alcohol. Why? Simply because they are not in a situation whereby it's conducive for their positive growth. So by disturbing the general population, you find them standing in front of people's yards and smoking and drinking alcohol and playing loud music, disturbing the peace of those which are society, which are not in any way related to them. Sometimes they might go to a public facility and vandalize that place. Why? Because simply they have no space, and the single parent isn't able to give them a home whereby they have space and all that stuff. In many cases, the fathers run away and they leave the mothers having all the burden to themselves. So now, this feminist agenda, how does it contribute further into breaking these families? They say that they empower the female, you understand. So the modern female is now they are now free to be promiscuous, free to explore each and every behavior, you understand, that they want. Whereas in olden times, the female were more conservative under the rulership and guidance of a male, basically. So that's what happens, basically. So the two need to be balanced, because if there's no male and there's no female and there's only male energy will destroy itself. So it needs something that would preserve it, which is the female. The female is more on life, and if you can even check in society, they are interested in optimizing themselves, looking pretty, and living longer, basically. However, the men, they live a faster life and they want adventure and all that stuff. So now it gives a balance, you understand, of the two genders. But now in the feminist agenda, the female is being encouraged to pursue the life of the male, which is detrimental to them. So now they start to masculate the female and they emasculate the male, and then it creates an imbalance. And they even sold us the idea of man, okay, I think I should ignore this part because now they will attack me, man. They will attack me. So but yeah, that's how it is, guys. So I'm merely discussing with you, showing you that the Bhagavad Gita has knowledge so far extensively to a point whereby it can even predict the things that are happening today. You understand? So in terms of imitating the Lord by drinking the poison river like Shiva did, there are many devotees or pseudo devotees of Lord Shiva Mahadeva who want to indulge in smoking ganja, marijuana, and similar intoxicating drugs, forgetting that by so imitating the act of Lord Shiva, they are calling death very near. Similarly, there are some pseudo devotees of Lord Krishna who prefer to imitate the Lord in his Rasa Lila or Rasa Lila, or the dance of love, forgetting their inability to lift the Govardhana hill. So these people, you find them smoking ganja, drinking alcohol, imitating the Aghori or the Aghora. What they fail to understand is that to the Aghora or the spiritual person, their digestion is of a different nature. They have no discrimination as we have. They see everything from a point of perspective whereby they see everything as energy. You see weed as weed and alcohol as alcohol. Therefore, your body will digest it in that way. So it will be detrimental to your body. So imitating such highly evolved spiritual beings would be nyamming yourself and working counter active to your true nature. So with that being said, I think I've discussed many things that I wanted to discuss about the gender war. My advice in this would be this. Okay, also I've discovered this very dangerous, very dangerous. Let me warn you guys as spiritual people. Most people that come into spirituality are weird people, you understand? Creepy people, strange people. Why do I say so? The occult is able to accept anybody and everybody from different backgrounds, you understand? And most of the times, people approach the occult from coming from a very terrible background, you understand? Take for instance my example. It's not the worst background, of course, but it's something to start with. I dropped out of school and I was depressed for a while, and then I learned how to meditate, and then I learned about the occult, and then it became something like this. To someone else, they had to go through life, maybe growing up until 50 years or maybe 40 years, not knowing the occult, living using wrong knowledge, accumulating bad karma, and sometimes they accumulate that untruthfulness to themselves. So they get to live in a certain way. Even when they practice occult, there's a certain dishonesty that they have to themselves because they haven't learned They didn't come into our cult having much purity. They have accumulated debris, so now they have to do more work basically. And also there's some people who are fakers in the occult community, and these are the most people in the occult community. The occult don't discriminate. It will accept you even you are the worst fakers. There's psychopathic people, many psychopathic people, mentally unstable people. To a certain degree, I think a large portion of society is mentally unstable because of we are living in such a society. I'm also mentally stable to a certain degree, you understand. So but having psychopathic behaviors and all those that have shown examples of, it's better to stay away from such people. There's a certain behavior that you can categorize them under, and you can even tell if you are a true spiritualist and a true occult worker. You can even tell the fake from the real. The warning that I would give you in terms of guys who want to date occult girls, in this modern feminist ideology, it has went far into influencing the occult spheres, the occult spaces, you understand. Let me show you a practical example of this. My analysis of the left hand path practitioners, which are J.S. Garrett and Barbie Garrett. When I look at Barbie, she's somebody who's pretty basically, and she's sure of herself, and she has that mentality of girl power. She's not feminine at all. Even in their videos, when you can watch their videos, she was busy talking too much and not giving his man a chance to speak. That's a sign of too much masculinity in a woman. So basically, when when I look at her, she's too sure of herself, and she's basically damaged goods. So having such a person of pomposity, and okay, J.S. Garrett on the other side, I think he's crazy, man. Something wrong about his mind, because now he's been obsessed on this guy Curtis Joseph, and doing many things, man, which I really don't understand. I think it's the American way. Anyway, let's continue. So yes, that's what I see when I look at J.S. Garrett. She's the typical feminine power and feminine feminist. So not feminine in that way, like feminist agenda type of girl, wish too much masculinity and things, you understand. So that's what I see when I look at it. So such people come into the occult, and the occult is one place which takes off the restrictions of your mind. So coming out with that ideology, you'd be then thinking that you are the boss of the world since you are a female and feminine power and the woman is the goddess. You end up acting muscular and you are damaged goods coming in the occult with the ideology. If you come across such a female, guys, make sure that you don't build something with them, because in essentiality they are too pompous and they will yam you. Sometimes they don't even accept their wrongs, so it's dangerous to deal with such a narcissistic character. Female, be careful of these madmen basically. These madmen who smoke crystal meth and those stupid things. You know, there's a funny thing about occult knowledge and occultism. People out there in the world, they don't have anything good going in their life. There's nothing that gives them a source of a feeling of importance. They are basically nothing. So they approach the occult and they have such knowledge and they begin to feel like they are achieving something in life. So they tend to the left hand path, tend to sorcery, because it gives them a feeling of importance which the outside world didn't give to. They are nothing basically in the outside world. So now they come across this knowledge and they are psychopathic. So now they start to feel pompous. It gives them a feeling of importance, a feeling of mastership. Now they want to come with their arrogance. Be careful of such people, guys. They are no good basically. They are no good. If I would recommend someone to be an occultist, I'd recommend them to be truthful in how they approach the occult. And you find guys like Damon Brand, who started the occult practice when he was 12 years. Those are the people that I would recommend in the occult spheres. People who started the occult very young, because according to what I've learned, they haven't accumulated any much baggage all throughout their life. If you are old and you are an occultist, if you are truthful, if you have achieved something in life, if the occult isn't the source of feeling of importance that you get, then you are fine. But if you use occult as a feeling of importance, you are not an honest person, and you have problems basically. And it's very hard for you to admit, and it won't be an easy road for you. And I won't encourage someone to marry you, but yeah, they might come somebody who's like you. But the warning is this: don't go for untruthful people, and most females that come into occult are not good. The female, most of them, mainstream females, they like going about enjoying life. They like promiscuity because of this feminist agenda, and they are not feminine in any way. So they come to the occult as a last resort, because they would have exhausted their feminine attributes. They would have exhausted their beauty. Then they would come into occult as a last resort, because if someone was beautiful like maybe Beyonce at their prime, they wouldn't approach occultism, because they would be feeling special and they would be doing selfies. And selfies is another way of being able to track these females down. You see them showing ass, being occultists and being naked, not respecting themselves. That's how you know that they are chasing clout and they are not somebody to be dealing with. They come into occult as a last resort. They wouldn't come to it if they were young, if they were really truthful basically. It's similar to like the people who try out life and they see that they messed up in life. Now they try to approach Jesus and Christianity to try and fix their life that they've ruined. Be careful of these people, guys. Be careful of these people. Be careful of tamasic mind. Be careful of yourself. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. This is Arsonist Fire from the way of Dharma. Om Nama Shiva. Yeah.